That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about The Stand-In, which will be available courtesy of Saban Film December 11, 2020. It is the 6th film directed by Jamie Babbit.
Do I know Jamie Babbitt's work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her debut was But I'm
that's a lady. All right. So I don't know. Go ahead.
Her debut was But I'm a Cheerleader.
I've seen that?
Yeah.
I'm a Cheerleader.
The lesbian kind of Clueless with Natasha Lyonne and Kathy Moriarty. And RuPaul.
Oh no, RuPaul's in it?
Yeah, we watched it.
I don't remember.
Jesus. Yes.
You don't know either. Okay.
No, I do. I'm trying to think about it. I guess I don't think you've seen any of her other films. She's done a lot of television.
Okay.
Which I think explains kind of the surprising amount of notable people in this. But her last one was Addicted to Fresno. With Natasha Lyonne, I believe, which I haven't seen. But I saw Breaking the Girls with Agnes Bruckner, kind of a pulpy lesbian thriller. Madeline Zima's in it. I didn't see Itty Bitty Titty Committee in 2007. And I am a fan of her sophomore film, The Quiet, with, I'm trying to think of the blonde girl in that. Is it Amelia Clarkson? That film kind of has a trashy camp quality to it as well that I like. Anyhow.
This film stars Drew Barrymore.
Yes.
Playing 2 characters.
3, actually.
Oh, that's right. She does have a little cameo.
Anyway, but ostensibly it's a dual characterization.
It's a comedy about a famous comedic actor named Candy Black, played by Drew Barrymore. The film opens with Candy Black shooting a movie, and Candy is very difficult. She, on top of just being a difficult person, she has a drug and alcohol problem. So getting her on set is the challenge. Once she does get on set, there's an incident where she accidentally assaults her co-star, played by Kimmy Schmidt.
Ellie Kemper.
And the sort of incident is recorded on someone's cell phone, and it goes viral. And it's that viral video that is the downfall of Candy Black. On set is her stand-in, played by Drew Barrymore. The stand-in's name is Paula. So Candy becomes a recluse for 5 years after the incident. And Paula, her stand-in, also sort of sees a downfall because she's not working, she's living in her car. Candy is in her big mansion somewhere in New England. She's in New York State, I'm assuming. When she gets in trouble for like tax evasion issues and claims she didn't pay her taxes because she has a drinking problem. So the judge sentences her to 90 days in rehab. So part of the backstory for Candy is Candy became an actor because she was like a carpenter on the set of a film. So now that she's this recluse, she is on a dating site for carpenters, and she is connected with a person. They haven't seen each other. They haven't shared photos, but they are fully in love. She tells him, "Hey, I'm going to be away for like 3 months. I won't be able to communicate with you. I just want you to know." And he's like, "Well, if that's the case, we're donezo." But she doesn't want to have that, so she decides to reach out to her old stand-in, Paula, and basically asks Paula, "Will you go to rehab for me so that I can pursue this online relationship?" Paula agrees. We'll get into the details of it. But Paula agrees, she goes. While she's in rehab, she as Candy, gets offered a job. So when she returns back to Candy after completing rehab early, she tells her, "Hey, you were offered a job." Part of the agreement for Paula going to rehab for Candy was, if I do this for you, you'll agree to take acting jobs and hire me as your stand-in. But when she returns, Candy's like, "Psych, not doing it. Like, I'm more focused on living my life as a carpenter and like falling in love with this man." Paula convinces her though, and it starts to work out well because when Paula goes on TV, her first sort of appearance as Candy is basically like an apology to Kimmy Schmidt lady, and the public loves it. Loves it.
Who is wearing an eye patch?
Kimmy Schmidt's wearing an eye patch.
Ellie Kemper.
So Paula convinces Candy, hey, you're getting all these requests for appearances. Why don't I do them all and I'll go on this apology tour for you and we'll just split the money. So Candy says, sure, girl, whatever. But things take a turn because Paula's really into it. And Paula, in an effort...
Paula's able to manipulate the situation because she interrupts the online commiserations by... She hijacks his...
It's so complicated.
She hijacks... his name is Steve, played by Michael Zegen.
She breaks into his Carpenter Love account to...
Tell her, I'm sorry, I'm married, stop talking to me.
But he still shows up. Like, he sees her like the paparazzi. Somehow he sees her at an event.
No, they meet. She goes to the meeting. She meets him.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. She gets involved with Steve.
Yes.
And there's a backstory to Steve we'll get to, but things come to a head because Steve wants to come over to the house. Paula drugs Candy. Candy wakes up early, sees that there's a visitor and says, like, we're done, get out of my house. But she doesn't. She basically, like, beats Candy up and then calls the police saying this woman is, like, impersonating me and trying to break into the house. Candy gets arrested but released, but everyone loves the new Candy, who's Paula, so she's able to continue with that. That's basically it. Candy decides to continue, like, living her life as a carpenter. Paula continues on as Candy. And then we flash forward a year, and we see that Paula is now, as Candy, very successful. However, she has an incident with paparazzi where she, like, assaults someone. So we can assume that Paula's going to go down the road Candy did. And then we see Candy living in this little small town as, like, a carpenter with Steve building furniture at the end.
In a store Pleasant Hill.
Whew, this story was so complicated for something that I didn't think was that funny.
Yeah. The tone is strange because what transpires is so kind of heavy and exaggerated. I think a much darker, at least like in the vein of a dark comedy would have worked. It was written by Sam Bain, who has written a phenomenal black comedy called Four Lions about a group of terrorists in London back in 2010, which I highly recommend. He also wrote a film recently with Demi Moore and Ed, what's his name from The Hangover? God, why am I blinking on his name?
Not Ed Harris.
Corporate Animals was the name of that film. Yeah, so considering the writer and director and the star, it's weird how this doesn't really...
Okay.
Ed Helms.
God. Let me go through my notes. So, I'm so confused why... So, Drew Barrymore as Candy is like this frumpy lady. And now that she's a recluse, she's like extra frumpy. Paula's also frumpy, but they give her a prosthetic nose, which is supposed to make her look different. I don't think she looks worse. She just looks slightly different. But they're both frumpy. Paula is adopting sort of this, like, she sounds like the girl from the Brady Bunch who's always like, Marsha. Jan. To me, she sounds like Jan from the Brady Bunch.
Eve Plum?
Yes, and Candy sounds like Drew Barrymore with like a deeper voice.
Yeah.
Neither one of them is that appealing. As characters, like, they're kind of gross people.
Yeah, it's kind of like Paula should have been a lot more sympathetic than she is initially at one point, but...
God, the attempts at humor, like, even the mansion Paula, or that Candy lives in, is supposed to seem like a recluse lives there. It's not necessarily dilapidated, it just seems like abandoned. And then at her front gate, her mailbox, there's like a mountain of mail, which I hated. That just seems so unrealistic. Oh, but whatever.
You know, I had written down, I thought as Paula with the nose and her makeup looks like Olivia de Havilland, kind of like this little bird.
Okay. So Candy doesn't have any money because she can't even pay the IRS. So when she asks Paula to be her stand-in in rehab, she tells her, I don't have anything to offer you. That blew my mind. So you brought this bitch over here to have her basically go to jail for 3 months and have nothing to offer her, and you're not even willing to, like, fully agree to, well, I'll get you some work when we're done. I thought that plot point was ridiculous.
How all of the puzzle pieces fit together, like how everything moves forward, how all the action moves forward. It seems like this was a first draft that needed to somebody go retool it, like, no, this is how this would work, or that's how that would happen. Because even how there's a scene where Candy, now roaming the streets in that furniture covering, goes and talks to this woman working construction about how I have a license and blah blah blah. She's like, okay, bring me your
That was so unrealistic.
That's kind of how I felt about most of the film. It just doesn't feel realistic. And about several minutes after I had written down in my notes all about Eve, there's a reference to it, I think with the woman on the Andy Cohen show, comparing her to Marilyn Monroe in All About Eve,
which wasn't like, they're comparing her to Marilyn Monroe as in her appearance, which blew my mind as well, because this lady's not cute. Neither one is cute, the Paula or Candy. Oh my goodness. So part of how Paula convinces Candy, like we said, is she sort of breaks up the relationship Candy had with this online man. And there's a scene where she has to log in, and she's like guessing passwords, and they're supposed to kind of be fun. Like, it just wasn't funny at all, because she's typing in passwords like innuendo, but it's very specific and not funny. But
I think it was kind of, those were lines that Candy used to say about having wood and things. There was stuff in her speech her dialogue patterns that I guess that
because Candy and Steve were having phone sex, and a lot of it related to like carpentry. Yes. So the passwords were related to that, but wasn't whatever. So Paula drugs Candy twice in an effort to like manipulate her, which is already a very dark sort of plot point, but it plays out because it's not done in a way that's funny.
Right, and it could have been, because I was like, she goes and dumps her in a pile of leaves in a wheelbarrow.
Also, why did she need to dump her outside? Like, you drugged her, just leave her in her room.
Right, yeah, I feel like if I was really trying to get away with something, I would tuck her in nicely and...
Okay, so another plot point to make it more convoluted is Candy and Steve, who are like interacting online, who have fully fallen in love, even though they've never seen each other. Candy doesn't want to share her identity because she thinks that he'll only like her because she's a celebrity. And Steve, he ends up sharing, his real name's not Steve, it's Larry. And the reason he doesn't want to show who he is because several years prior, when he was living in like Pennsylvania or something, he went viral because one night he was out drunk with friends and like hobbled into a Holocaust memorial and started urinating. It was dark, so he couldn't see, so started urinating on like a statue of a small child who was like a Holocaust victim, and someone took a picture, and now he's known as that guy. So that ruined his life. He lost his dream job, so he chose to move to escape the notoriety. So this fool moves to New York City, like a highly populated area, to avoid being recognized. Also, his character says he lost his dream job, but he lives in a beautiful loft in the city.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Which doesn't make any sense.
Well, also how if she's broke, how is she paying her property taxes on that mansion? But
the only good scene of the film was an hour in, when Paula confronts Candy about being the version of her that the public wants. I thought, oh, this is like what this movie should have been. This is what the movie should have been. This should have happened like 10-15 minutes in, and then the movie got really dark. Because I thought a better story, because, oh my god, Drew Barrymore is known as like this sort of like lovable, bubbly person. Like, all of her roles seem to kind of involve that. So why she would choose a role like this is very confusing, because to me it's like when Jim Carrey did The Cable Guy, that made sense. Like, we know him as like this clown, so he takes this super dark role. So I'm wondering if Drew Barrymore thought that this was a dark role, and then after she already was really involved, realized like, well, it's not working. I don't know.
Well, she executive produced it. I thought she was doing her best.
She's doing a lot of work.
She's doing a lot of work.
She's playing two characters.
And then a third one, because she plays the stand-in to Paula.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's doing a lot of work, and I did appreciate that care was taken to make them both look different enough both characters, Candy
Sure.
and Paula, because they do have different styles and looks, but that it also gets tripped up in the narrative because of the different voices, and Paula is never moved to try to speak like Candy.
Okay, that really bothered me because Paula was Candy's stand-in for years. So she should know this bitch very well. Chooses not to use her voice. Also, the film takes a turn at the end because Candy says, you know what, you can have my life. I didn't want it anyway. I'm happy just being with this man and building furniture. So when Paula goes to her first acting gig as Candy at the end of the film, all she has to do is duplicate one of Candy's like famous scenes from an old movie, which is her jumping from a bale of hay into a pile of shit, and then she says the line, "Hit me where it hurts." Like that's her signature thing. That's all Paula has to do. And she has like a breakdown saying she can't do it. And then stops filming to then go find Candy to tell her I can't do it. Candy convinces her you can. Then she goes back. I just thought that was so dumb. Like, Paula should know Candy. She should know the kind of roles she does. Like, and then you're duplicating a famous scene of hers. That was so stupid to me. That was so stupid.
It's just, I feel like somewhere someone had taken Bain's script and kind of made a nice dress out of it for Barrymore, because she has a very interesting, unique, notable history as a child actress.
Yes.
That I think could have really been streamlined to make this feel kind of meta.
Yeah. I think the film should have been, first of all, Candy should have been the more frumpy version of Drew Barrymore, so that when Paula takes over her life out of being, out of the public eye for 5 years, she comes back looking like the best version of Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
Because this character doesn't look good in either iteration. Also, I think it's already dark because she's drugged this lady twice, she's having sex with her man, so it's already going in a direction.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of the catfishing and gaslighting going on. Yeah.
I think Paula should have killed Candy right away, and then we see her trying to live her life and all the things that could go wrong and all the extreme things she does to maintain that until she finally gets caught in the end and then something crazy happens. Might as well go all the way.
And it's revealed because of her new stand-in or something. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
But this back and forth is so unbelievable, and the way Candy just gives up, like the police arrest her in front of her own house, they release her the same night, and then she's just like, well, I guess this is it.
Oh, and then she comes to retrieve her license and some other things, and it's like, where are you living? Where are you gonna... Whatever. It must be because of Barrymore and Babbit that there are an awful lot of notable people in this. It's very surprising, considering I think how low-key it feels.
This film feels low budget because I think it should have at least felt like that movie, The High Note with Tracee Ellis Ross. I kind of felt like it had that vibe, and the quality of it should have been that, but it's not. And then you have, and all these cameos we're referring to are just one sort of stretch where Paula as Candy is doing her apology tour.
Sure.
So we see
Andy Cohen and Kelly Ripa and
Ryan Seacrest, Jimmy Kimmel,
or Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon. But yeah, a lot of notable people are interviewed.
But no, even in the cast, besides Kemper, there's T.J. Miller, there's Andrew Rannells, there's Holland Taylor, there's Lena Dunham, Michelle Buteau, Charlie Barnett. There's a head-spinning amount of notable people.
What would you give this movie?
And also it's Drew Barrymore's first cinematic narrative feature since 2015's Miss You Already, because she's been doing Santa Clarita Diet.
Okay.
I would give it 2 out of 5.
I would give it 1.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.